You think that by the time you got past, you know, Eddie Van Halen, Hendrix, all this kind of stuff, that we're done innovating the guitar, but then here come the Asians, just like on cue. The other day I was looking at different ways that I can give John Petrucci all my money, and that obviously led me to dimarzio's website. And on their website, I found this picture of this 7-year-old with these gang tattoos, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Naturally, I had to check out Tim Henson and Polyphia, and then of course, the following days, my YouTube recommendations were just bombarded. All these YouTubers like Davey, Rick Beato, Ed Sheeran, Nick Nocturnal, Herman Lee.
I had zero clue who these people were until you sent me the video of G.O.A.T. The thing that really caught my attention instantly was, like how you mentioned, it's a hip-hop type beat with rock and prog fusion. Insane mix of stuff that you really think couldn't be pulled off.
I used to be a big hip-hop fan, I'm now a big rock fan, but I kind of like them separately, but they actually blended it perfectly here. And they blend other genres too, like jazz, EDM, metal, lo-fi. It's just like a big clusterfuck orgy of like every different musical genre. Without further, Bovine Excrement. Nasty.
What do you think about these song titles?
I think it sounds like whatever the most trending hashtags were on Instagram in 2018 at the time. Like the top 10 will just be the names of all these songs. This one's much more rhythmically driven than anything else on this album. The dive bombing on the trend, the sharp bass team together to make a really great chorus.
The sounds in the guitar, you almost seem unreal. The ability to stay in the pocket while flying over the fretboard. Gobert, the bass player, he is mixed perfectly. It's like Rush mix.
I call them bass clay and drum clay because the drum clay's name is like Clay.
Yeah, he does such impressive work. Like he'll follow the rhythm of the guitar, but then he'll have these accent notes to really stand out, where he'll slap the fretboard so hard.
And then Petrucci himself makes an appearance for the solo. Easily the highlight of the song, where Tim dials in a beautiful lead tone.
It's funny you mentioned Petrucci. I actually put the outro as almost a chocolate cake appearance.
Well, yeah, because I have an illness, so that I make it a point to put John Petrucci in all my notes. Drum clay is an absolute animal, being able to take Tim's hip-hop beats, rapid-fire drum machine stuff, and transform them into authentic drums, specifically his amazing hi-hat and cymbal work.
He's so well timed and in place that he just mixes with the whole hip-hop aspects of it.
Even though the first half was kind of basic formulaic Polyphia, as we'll see for certain songs coming up, the second half dialed it up nicely, especially for the metal fans out there. So I give this one a 7.5.
A 6.5.
Well, most of the record up to this point is a crazy blend of hip-hop and rock. No song puts on a better clinic on how to do that than this one. We were talking about the cool songwriting process Tim comes up with. He actually borrowed ideas from Kanye and Taylor Swift songs to put this one together. Bass Clay turns into an 808 himself. Has such a ridiculous tone, like you were talking about, in style. I had to actually verify that it was real bass. There are conflicting reports whether he does this or not live, but I was watching a cover of this thing, and it was the most ridiculous, like Geddy, Lee, and Flea would just like bow down. Definitely your typical Polyphia formula that works, but it's filled with great slowdowns, quick, impressive, and tight turns, and a very memorable and catchy main riff that is a great representation of the whole band. I also give this one a 7.5.
I also quite enjoyed the hip-hop outro. Really cool to see the fusion that they give. 6.5.
Do you know who Ichika Nito is?
No.
Yes, you do. I guarantee you've seen his videos before. You ever see those videos where it's like you have 15 seconds to audition for a band? Where it's like a 15-second video where he just does some insane shit.
That's him? Oh,
so that's this guy. He and Tim are really responsible for this kind of style of music in general. Obviously Scott as well. Ichika puts together such a beautiful and spacey opener that mixes so well with Tim immediately following. And then, yeah, as for the rest of it, I think he sticks with the formula that works. And there's nothing wrong with that. Formula.
That
works. This is literally like the Polyphia riff generator video that I saw. Finally, we get a refreshing change up on Drowned. Very much reminds me of something that Party Next Door Bryson Tiller would sing over. Slower, drearier mood to open it, and the transition from the beat to the real drums was perfect.
It finally has a different start and placement for the song. Great melody shift, clay bass, hitting those hard notes again, breaks through with his perfect accents. Some really nice, smooth, excellent guitar work on the second half and near the outro. Definitely a highlight for me, I think, because it's different.
The main riff is one of my favorites. Very jazzy. Actually kind of reminds me of something Russ Freeman would put down on Rippington's album. The funk influence is strong here, with Clay's slapping style especially highlighted. And the song has one of Tim's best solos in the album. More natural sounding, super bluesy, and I think he put some of his own boomer bends in this one too. One of the best on the album, easily. Give this one an 8.5.
A 7.
This is some Dude Perfect music. Again with a jazz influence with drum Clay's hi-hat work under the warmer stratty sound. I really like the contrast between the verses and the main riff, the first one being a much more slowed down jazzy section and the second one with more funk in between the high energy hook. I give this one an 8.
7.5.
Right, yes. Yes.
Yes.
First one I'm not really that hot on. Not a fan of the vocal samples. It kind of makes it sound like one of those bullshit EDM shit that they play at the clubs. The rest of it has kind of the typical Polyphia-isms. We're sticking to the formula here.
Close relation to like a reggae type intro. Drum Clay brings the transition in well. Bass accents from the other Clay are top notch as always. The guitar solo in the back half I thought was really well done.
You had a hell of a lot more to say about this one than I did. Still some great moments on here though, like the ending solo and the drum fill, and Tim and Scott, as always, have great synergy. I give this one a 6.
Give this one a 7.5.
Not a fan of the vocals initially, but after a couple listens, it grew on me. Kind of works with the song. Creates kind of like the summery Californian vibe. Obviously not anything too special lyrically, but they use the Cuco feature in a really cool sample-ish way. Only place in the whole album I think the rock and rap styles clash is when we're listening to John Mayer do a little bit of an improv, and then all of a sudden Metro Boomin's your neighbor and he's testing out his studio monitors. Scott and Tim do sound great though, in large part because of the great production value, which a lot of people actually brought up as a problem on this, that the production was so good it sounds like, you know, artificial. 6.5.
Oh, I give it 6.5 also. The formula
That
works.
Now let's get to the main event. The main riff is one of the best that I've heard across any genres. Other songs featured similar things, but the combination of the different style, like tapping, harmonics, flutters, is so ridiculous.
I like how it kind of starts off sounding like a 90s rap video. That opening riff, I've never heard anything like it. For the most part of the album, you kind of get an idea. You're like, oh, okay, it's Polyphia, whatever. This one definitely stands out more for the way he arranged it. Bless you.
Thank you.
The bass on this one is a little more subtle, but it provides a perfect backbone, having key parts where he really kicks through. Almost Mike Portnoy drum fills and bass drum on the outro, I thought was really, really cool.
The way Eddie Van Halen used to write his solos is he used to have 3 different tracks where he would just play something totally different on each section of the neck. Then he would stitch together from those 3 tracks one total solo. I have to think that's how Tim and Scott do the same thing here. I would really love to see from Tim a video of not just how he puts the demo tapes down, but how he actually approaches writing his parts on guitar. Unless their minds are just kind of like so fucked up they just write like that.
Yeah, you never know until you really dive into it or get some insight.
The effects keep the guitar fresh throughout during the first verse where it sounds like we're going through a mythical cave with Tim. Super powerful and creative melody overall. As far as best on the album, I think the title speaks for itself. I'd give it a 9.
Definitely the best on the album. I give it an 8.
Overall, very, very excited to see the future of this band and this style of math and prog rock. The talent is undoubtedly there, and they have a lot of ground to cover too. While I think the album doesn't necessarily display the true firepower that I think these guys are capable of, I think they kind of put themselves in a box here as far as sticking with their formula. The future is looking very good for these guys.
The insane skill, talent, arrangements, productions, melodies, all together are just undeniable. I agree. I think this album isn't the best I think they have to offer. There's so many different songs that shine through that show you the potential that they do have. The one issue that I would have with them so far is the lack of breathing room on each song for the most part. I mean, you're just bombarded the whole time, and that might be what they want to do. They might want to always have their listener like on their feet.
The pacing leaves a lot of room for improvement, but I think songs like Drown and Saucy show they have more diversity in them. Even though it's already been 3 years since this album came out, it sounds like just now people are finally starting to catch on to it, which is definitely encouraging. So there'd be no better time to drop album 4. I'm gonna pair at Fantano here and give it an 8.
6.5.